A lawyer's clever response to unfair treatment. This opinion is terrible, my boss told me. He'd been working as a lawyer for 3 years, and I had been assigned to him by the firm to receive training as a junior counsel, to learn the ropes of litigation. I had my fair share of issues with my boss. He lacked a solid grasp of the law, and his writing skills left much to be desired. For a litigator, those were significant drawbacks. What bothered me even more was his reluctance to set foot in a courtroom. I noticed this during a visit to assignment court, where he displayed visible nervousness when it was his turn to speak. I couldn't believe it, my boss was actually afraid of the courtroom, even in assignment court where the only task was setting a trial date. "What's wrong with the memo I prepared?" I inquired. "It's not what I asked for," he replied, turning away. However, upon reviewing the memo he had emailed me 2 weeks prior, I realized that my work precisely matched his initial request. I knew exactly what was happening. He intended to erase my contributions from the memo and claim it as his own, leaving me far short of my monthly docketing requirements. I was aware of his tactics because he had done this before. I had the certainty that my memo would end up on a partner's desk with no credit to me. I had insider knowledge because the firm I worked for had an advanced internal network, using email for communication well before the internet became mainstream. Although we were ahead in technology, our security was lacking. Shortly after joining the firm, I learned to navigate the firm's hard drive and unearthed incriminating evidence that my boss was plagiarizing my work. My boss embodied the archetype of the successful young lawyer in the downtown scene. His shoes always gleamed, and he wore custom-made suits due to his privileged background. Everyone assumed he was on the fast track to becoming a partner. In contrast, I was making my way without any special privileges, and perhaps my boss believed it was acceptable to exploit me. If that was his assumption, it would prove to be a grave mistake on his part. I resented having my billable hours tampered with, especially because I was already targeted as one of the junior associates who didn't meet docketing expectations. I reported my boss's actions to the team's supervising partner, but he showed little concern. It felt like being back in middle school, arriving at the office with a bruised face, only to have the principal dismiss it as boys being boys, and sending me on my way. "You'll just have to work harder or smarter," the partner advised when I recounted the latest injustice committed by my boss. I couldn't work any harder, as I was already putting in the standard 6-day workweek that downtown lawyers were expected to endure. However, I could work smarter. That night, I devised a plan. Christmas was approaching, and I decided to gift my boss a little something. On December 24th, I placed a memo on his desk, supposedly from the partner he reported to. This partner was an older individual who eschewed technology, preferring traditional paper communication. Therefore, it was not unusual for my boss to find a memo on his desk from this partner, especially on December 24th. I meticulously crafted the memo to mimic the partner's usual format, ensuring it appeared authentic. My boss approached the junior cubicles, handing me the memo with the secretary having retyped it to make it seem like the assignment was directly from him to me, rather than from the partner to my boss. The assignment was a complex one, requiring in-depth research into admiralty law, its intersection with common law, and a constitutional division of powers question. "But this is a massive task," I protested. "I'm going to be away. Can't someone else handle it? Is it really urgent?" The memo I had forged for my boss emphasized the extreme urgency of the situation. However, my boss had no way to verify with the partner, as the partner had left for vacation the day before. This is precisely why I had chosen December 24th for my plan. "No can do," my boss replied. "This is a significant matter. Just inform HR. Maybe they'll compensate you with overtime or something." He walked away, thinking he had ruined my holiday plans. He was mistaken. You see, I had previously written a paper for a third-year course that covered a topic remarkably similar to the research assignment described in the memo. So, the only work I had to do was to locate the old floppy disk with the draft, make a few adjustments, and presto, a meticulously detailed and extensive memo on an obscure facet of Admiralty law, complete with references dating back to Lord Coke's era. I compiled the memo, and as planned, I enjoyed my holiday season. I didn't go anywhere, due to budget constraints, but I spent time with family, stayed in town, and made it a point to visit the office during the holidays, sending a few emails and recording all my time for the extensive research I was supposedly conducting. When the holidays concluded, I found myself back at my cubicle, facing a daunting workload. My boss approached me, dressed more formally than usual, seemingly trying to make a statement with his attire. "Where's that memo?" "It was supposed to be on my desk when I returned." "I have a meeting at noon," he said. "I just finished it this morning," I replied, handing him the still warm, lengthy memo fresh from the printer. My boss took the memo in his hands, felt its weight, and smirked before turning away without a word. Shortly before noon, I heard a commotion down the hall. It was quite a spectacle, with a loud exclamation of "damn it," followed by a forcefully opened door. It was the partner, shouting for my boss to get into his office immediately. I had the satisfaction of witnessing my boss hastily scurrying down the corridor. "What the hell is this?" the partner exclaimed while standing in his office doorway, holding my work at arm's length between his thumb and index finger, as if afraid that touching it would tarnish him. My boss mumbled something, and then the partner ushered him inside. I overheard a barrage of shouting, followed by muffled excuses and more shouting from the partner. Then, the door swung open again. "Called in the 90s, get in here," the partner demanded, and I promptly obliged. "Did you write this memo?" the partner asked, handing it to me. I examined it carefully. "Yes, I did. The cover page has been altered to remove my name, but apart from that, it's my work. I spent the entire Christmas working on it. Is there an issue with it?" the partner erupted. "An issue with it? There's a significant issue. It's utterly useless, completely worthless." I explained that I had followed my boss's instructions to the letter and had logged over 100 hours on it. This sent the partner into a fit of rage, instructing me to retrieve the memo from my boss. I retrieved it and, upon reading it, the partner's face turned beet red. He told me I could leave, and I hastily exited his office. While I couldn't hear the full extent of my boss's reprimand from my cubicle, I learned the details through office gossip in the following days. The partners were irate that my boss had squandered over 100 hours of a junior associate's time on a pointless task that was clearly a prank. They couldn't fathom how my boss had failed to recognize that he was being played. I, on the other hand, faced no repercussions. I had been working under my boss's direct supervision. My boss wasn't terminated, but there were positive developments for me. Firstly, the partner instructed me to send him copies of any memos I authored for my boss, putting an end to my boss taking credit for my work. Additionally, my boss ceased deleting my docket entries for my research. I even received a belated Christmas bonus as compensation for sacrificing my supposed holiday to write the absurd memo. Working in that environment was far from enjoyable, but whenever times got tough, I would reminisce about the case of the forged memo, which always brought a smile to my face.